Consultation Podcast Network.
Leprechaun 3! See how easy that is?
Hey guys, welcome back to Blood and Black Rum Podcast. I'm Ryan from Coldsploitation.com, and I'm joined by my co-host Martin.
How's it going?
Oh, it's pretty good. We were talking about this earlier. As you know, it was very recently St. Patrick's Day, and I can't do an Irish accent to save my life, even though I am Irish. The only time I can do it...
No, you're American.
Well, yes and no. I'm American. I have Irish descent in me. Irish and Scottish. I believe my name, actually, Ryan, is Scottish. But I
believe he was a baseball player.
That's true as well. Yes, he was. And was he of Scottish descent, Ryan Sandberg? I have no idea. We'll have to do a DNA test. Find out. Maybe we're related.
Maybe maybe at Cooperstown they have like a strand of hair of his.
Yeah. And we can test it, figure out. First of all, I just want to know if I'm related. There can't be two Ryans in the world without being related.
Well, you didn't play second base, so.
That's true. I was a pitcher. But anyway, because of St. Patrick's Day, we decided that we were going to continue the tradition, which we've done every year since we started Blood and Black Rum Podcast, and keep going with Leprechaun, the series. Which...
abomination of a film franchise.
I mean, for the most part, if you've listened to our previous episodes on Leprechaun films, Leprechaun 1 and 2, you know that we don't really enjoy them all that much. Leprechaun 1, I think it was one of our first episodes, and I know you hated it at the time. That was like one that you significantly hated. Really had a difficult time getting through it. Part of that was because of the way that we watched it. It was kind of annoying. We kept buffering. But also, it was just an experience that is not very good. It's not super bad. It's just really in the middle, and that makes for a very uninteresting film. It's hard to get into. Although it does have Jennifer Aniston as her first film role, and unfortunately not one where she takes off her top. So,
does she do that anywhere?
No, she does not. But I'm saying, as
no, I mean,
like in horror films, generally your first horror film, to get into that role, you're probably going to take your top off.
Well, it would have been great if she took her top off in Horrible Bosses.
True.
I haven't seen Horrible Bosses, but I've seen like clips of it on YouTube. One, it looks hilarious.
And two, you wish Jennifer Aniston took her top off.
She's fucking amazingly hot in it. Have you seen her in that?
I have, yeah.
Great.
No other words need to be said.
Yeah, big fan of that work.
Leprechaun 2 we did last year, and while that's not a good film, and it's not really enjoyable for the most part, it does have its moments.
The cameo that's not really a cameo because he wasn't famous yet.
Yep. Michael McDonald.
Yep. Not the singer.
Not the singer.
Well, from Mad TV fame.
But does get a great cameo in there.
Oh,
and pretty much elevates that film from like really a don't watch to you should see it.
Just because of his I would call his cameo in that. Well, like I said, it's not technically a cameo because he wasn't famous yet. And really, I guess saying the word famous is kind of a stretch.
Yeah, Mad TV famous don't really.
Yeah. But no, I mean, like, I would say his performance in that, Goldblumian.
Yeah, it was, yeah. Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. I wish he was in Leprechaun 3 because that would have elevated this film even more anyway.
Yeah, well, instead we got a racist Apu type
yeah.
character.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. To explain the intro a little bit, this film, you might think from the intro that the music is from this film.
If you've seen the film.
And unfortunately it is not. It is from the critically acclaimed rare game Banjo-Kazooie.
If you're a 90s child like we are, you have probably spent many of hours playing Banjo-Kazooie.
And finding hidden things in it. Did it have hidden things? I really didn't play it that much, so.
It was not really.
It wasn't like a Mario, like find the hidden.
It's Mario 64, but.
Yeah.
Well, it's literally the same concept. Instead of collecting stars, you're collecting jiggies. Nah.
I did play a little bit.
Another 90s reference right there.
I remember. Here's a 90s reference. I remember playing a demo of it in Video World, which most people probably, because Video World was
a local
thing. But yeah, it was our local VHS rental store. I remember for a time they had video games that you could demo there, like how they had the consoles that sat in the aisles. Yeah, they had a Banjo-Kazooie demo there.
Renting consoles for like the weekend if you didn't have it.
Yep.
Which I can't even fathom thinking about now how much it would cost to rent like a console.
Yeah, I don't. I'm sure you'd have to sign like 26 pages of legal requirements.
Nah, not in the night. No,
not in the 90s. But you said how you can't fathom how much it would cost now. I'm sure now you'd have to sign like, well, I will not, jailbreak this device. I will not drop the device.
I will not use it for illegal purposes.
Yeah, I will not watch porn on this device.
Then what's the point?
That's right.
But but it's from the opening is Gruntilda's theme, from Gruntilda's Lair, the overworld in Banjo-Kazooie, and it's when we were watching this movie, the soundtrack literally sounds like it's literally like a Banjo-Kazooie, like it's Banjo-Kazooie's soundtrack. It's literally like as if Grant Kirkhope, before he was working at Rare, was doing, the music for Leprechaun 3, except, it doesn't get that nice, 64-bit, sound processing to make it, really, memorable.
Yeah, now this soundtrack has more of a pan flute style thing that's like almost offensively Irish, and like
more. I would say almost like Renaissance fair.
Yeah,
but instead of a lute, they just have they couldn't afford a lute because of the budget, so they just have some guy on a guitar playing, and it's like do 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 do.
And I would say this is Leprechaun 3's music is like an extension of Leprechaun 2, except Leprechaun 2 had more of a 90s flair to it.
Early 90s.
Yeah, early 90s flair.
And if you watch, not watch, because we're not a video podcast yet, but if you listen to that episode, that intro had that that amazing 90s, like, stereotypical rock song when our protagonist, I can't remember his fucking name,
I have no idea.
Because who the fuck cares?
I don't remember. It's a year ago.
Yeah, so who the fuck cares? But when he's like down in the dumps, he goes to lie in bed and he's just like, din, 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 din. It's not appropriate.
No.
It's, very
90s.
Yeah, stereotypical, but it's great. It's great. Loved it. That was like that's the second highlight of that film.
Yeah.
Because honestly, looking back on the retrospective of this series that we've been doing, I can remember Leprechaun 1 pretty good. Character names, no. But I'm never really good at character names.
Leprechaun 1 I can remember very well. Sure.
But Leprechaun 2, I just remember Halloween tour type thing, and Leprechauns trying to get married.
Well, and actually that kind of segues pretty well into Leprechaun 3 too, because Leprechaun 3 has a very similar premise to the Leprechaun 2, in that there is a male protagonist, a female protagonist. They kind of come together and they're around to fight the Leprechaun off. And that's really, I think Leprechaun 3 expands on that, but the initial plot line of Leprechaun 3 is really like the exact same thing. It even has a blonde chick as its protagonist. I mean,
but she's hotter.
But she's hotter in this one for sure. This is one of those films, and especially in the 90s, where it was like, we need a sequel. We need a sequel that's a little bit different. Let's set it in a weird location. Let's set it in Vegas.
You know what? I was going to say, if we wanted to go the stereotypical route, but we're a better show than that, much better show, we would have had Viva Las Vegas, that would probably get our episode pulled down in a heartbeat.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is
we were. It's funny because it's set in Vegas because it's also known not just Leprechaun 3 but Leprechaun 3 in Vegas. That's probably why the next 3 ones are Leprechaun in something.
Right. Yeah, it became a thing. Leprechaun in something.
Leprechaun in space. Leprechaun in the hood. Leprechaun in a young boy. But no, we were thinking about it, like, throughout the film, I was just randomly shouting out, like a Tourette's patient. Random movies from the 90s set in Vegas.
Yeah.
Austin Powers, International Man of Mystery. Bam, There's one.
Vegas Vacation.
That's 2. The ultimate Vegas film.
Yeah. And you had asked in a Facebook post, which one's better? I think you know now.
Yeah.
Mr. Papa Giorgio. It's Vegas Vacation.
Flintstones 2, Viva Rock Vegas,
Yep.
a shit ton. So it's literally like a gimmick from the 90s. Like, what can we do? I'm not gonna cause I said Casino, but Casino doesn't count because it's set in.
It's kind of a, cheat on that one because it's literally about Vegas and casinos. Like this one. Let's say it wasn't set in Vegas. What really changes about it besides having the glitz and glamour of the city? Nothing. They could have shot it in San Diego and had San Diego city life, or they could have shot it in Atlantic City.
As I say, that's what they should have done. Well, we can't. We didn't have the budget to go to Vegas, so where'd we go? We went to Atlantic City.
Well, literally,
we went to the Trump Casino.
I mean, literally, this film though technically is using a lot of stock footage to show that it's in Vegas because the rest of it is probably on a soundstage. So. For the most part,
you can tell the Lucky Shamrock.
Yeah, the Lucky Shamrock. I mean, we're not even talking Caesar's Palace. And there's even a joke in the film that they wish they were at Caesar's Palace. It's like, yeah, we can tell. We can tell, buddy. You wish you were at Caesar's Palace, but the budget was $2 million, so that was out of the question. You couldn't rent Caesar's Palace.
It would have been better if they just green screen it. Roll with it. Make it. You already know you're a cheap and cheesy film, and that's what you're going for. Then roll with it. Make it like green screen in front of walking from the MGM casino.
Some parts of the opening part of the film where Leprechaun is walking around Las Vegas, it does kind of scream like green screen because he doesn't really interact with most things. He kind of just walks up to a building and is like, hey, look at that thing. That's a Las Vegas staple. Check that out. It almost could be. I don't know. In some parts, he is interacting with the crowd, so potentially not.
I don't think
it was, but you're right. It could have been. They could have easily just saved a bunch of money and not flown anybody.
It's not like it's expensive to go to Vegas.
No, that's true.
It's kind of their calling card.
Yeah,
it's come to Vegas.
The cheap, fuck a prostitute.
The cheap fun. It's legal there.
Fuck a prostitute. Well,
not there, but outside.
Keep that secret in Las Vegas. Save on divorce fees.
Or, go to Taiwan or Thailand and
do that, and everybody's bound to secrecy, somewhat literally. Yeah. So
it's just this film.
Let's leave it at that for this film.
Honey, I Blew Up the Baby. That's another one I mentioned. That's set in Vegas at the end.
Blew up the baby? Was it?
Yes, Honey, I Blew Up the Baby. After Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, it's Honey, I Blew Up the Baby.
Gotcha.
Because instead of making them small, Rick Moranis makes his baby, which wasn't in the first one, but now they got a baby, blows it up to grow. And
it's funny how that thing happens. Sometimes you just get a baby. And it's like somebody drops a baby off, and you're like, this is my baby.
And you know what? I don't think he was in the third one either. Not Rick Moranis, but the baby. And Honey, I Shrunk Ourselves, I don't think he was in that.
I don't know why you have such a encyclopedic knowledge of the Honey, I Shrunk or Blew Up the...
And then there was the TV series on Disney. Did not have Rick Moranis.
Well, yeah. Rick Moranis after that, you kind of kind of quit acting. I think.
I know,
right?
but I think Honey I Shrunk Ourselves. I think this is getting a little off tangent, but it's a little fun little discussion. I think because who knows how much we
our
can
listeners like that.
Who knows how much you can get out of Leprechaun 3? You know. Mm-hmm. But no, I think Honey I Shrunk Ourselves. I think came out like 2000 or 2001.
Yeah,
which I thought he was done acting by then. But
you got me. I really don't know. I didn't follow it after Honey I Shrunk the Kids.
Well, it's not like I went out and
you know what?
I found it was like it's something like my parents rented on VHS, and it's like, here you go.
The most I know about that franchise is the 3D experience that you had at like MGM or Universal or whatever.
Well, I've never been on vacation in my life before, so I wouldn't.
Rats tickled my feet in that ride. Okay, I remember it very well. All right, let's take a break from talking about Leprechaun 3 because God knows how much we'll actually get out of the rest of it. And we'll talk about the beer that we've got on the show today. Because
we'll give you a hint. It's from Ireland.
Yes, we're continuing the Ireland experience. I'm not good at it. I understand it'll be a running joke. We'll go with it. We do have Guinness on the show today. I think last year we did do the Guinness pack from last year, which was a slightly different pack where they
the West India.
Yeah, there was a West India stout, and I don't remember the other one. To be honest with you, I can't quite remember what the other one was. But we did do that last year for our St. Paddy's Day episode when we did Leprechaun 2, and we'll continue the tradition this year because Guinness has a new pack out, and pretty much all new beers that I've never tried before. So that's a plus.
Except
for me.
one.
Yeah, except one, which is their best one. So definitely a plus. What are they calling this pack officially? Do you remember?
It just says the 200th anniversary pack.
So it's
which, to be honest with you, I thought it was just gonna be 12 of the
200th anniversary.
Yeah, because I was just looking for a 6-pack of it, but I didn't, and I grabbed it, and I was like, I couldn't find a 6-pack. I'm like, all right, fine, fuck it, I'll pony up and get the 12-pack.
Yeah.
And when I got in the car, I looked and I saw it had 4 beers. I'm like, oh, it's actually a variety pack.
Yeah, so traditionally, this is the big pull for this pack is the Guinness 200th anniversary export stout, which is supposed to commemorate 200 years in America, not 200 years making Guinness, because I'm imagining it stems back further than that in Ireland.
I think 1758. 1759.
Yeah, 1759.
Wow, I was just close on that.
But 200 years in America is the commemorative event. So they're really emphasizing the 200th anniversary export stout. And so that's what we'll cover primarily on this show. So what do you think of the 200th anniversary export stout? How different is it from the regular Guinness stout that we have in America right now?
Regular Guinness draft?
That's right.
Or as you were saying, drop.
Drop.
Yeah, well, you're an American.
Yeah.
Say draft. I like it. To be honest with you, I used to be a very big Guinness supporter. Very big.
It's definitely a gateway beer into stouts.
Obviously, because it's in America when you think of stout, it's Guinness because it's the one mainstream stout. Though it's different just because the nitro widget really makes it a really different stout compared to a typical stout.
Well, I would say it's like the creamiest beer that I can think of. Even now,
not really even stout. Like
Right.
I mean, just like kind of like in color, because it's so like it's amazing too. Like a lot of people think like when you drink Guinness, like oh, it's so dark and heavy. But like once you get into like more stouts and porters, like you've had like these other Guinness stouts, like a Founder's Breakfast Stout or Canadian Breakfast Stout. Another one off the top of my head, like I just had Almagang's Candy Stout on tap, not, and when we were out on St. Patrick's Day, I was drinking their coffee stout.
Yep.
After you drink like beers, like stouts like that and porters like that, and then you go to like back to like a regular Guinness draft, you're like, wow.
It seems light in comparison, for sure.
Very light.
Yes.
Drinkable, very, easy to, because it's also got a really low ABV. I think it's only like 4.2. for just straight Guinness draft?
5, I believe. 5 is the regular Guinness
I could have
draft.
swore it was even lower than that.
Perhaps, maybe. I know that the original, which we'll talk about in a second, does have the 4.2%. But, yeah, I mean, I think Guinness as a draft, the regular straight Guinness that we get in America is drinkable, for sure. A good...
It's literally something like after I've like experienced other stouts, it's something I just don't go to.
Yeah,
if I'm at a bar and I really want like a stout, then
Sure.
I will get a Guinness, because if that keg of Guinness, like there is actually nothing like a Guinness straight from the tap, poured right and from a fresh keg. It's a very beautiful beer to enjoy.
Agreed.
I just don't really. It's not really something I care for. Just drinking out of the can or even the bottle, to be honest with you. And like I said, because it is kind of such a lighter bodied stout compared to like all these other beers, it's got like the nice maltiness to it and a nice sweetness and a creaminess because of the nitro widget, which is a brilliant idea. It's just something I just don't really, my palate, I really just have to be in the mood for. Because like I said, if I want a stout, like one that comes to mind instantly is like a nice breakfast stout. Like, oh yeah, that's what I want. Or like Brown's oatmeal stout. You know, something like hearty and heavy. Like when I really want a stout, I really do want like a heavier stout. Not necessarily an imperial stout, because those get up, really high in alcohol, and you're kind of, I think it becomes really dangerous because like the notes of the beer get kind of, can be overwhelmed by the alcohol content. So it's, like I said, it's a beer I like, but it's a beer that I really enjoyed, but it's just waned. Like I underappreciate it now. I can.
Yeah, I agree. I feel the same way. It's a gateway beer. Then you get into some better, hardier stouts, but it's okay to come back to. Like I'm fine coming back to Guinness. I don't have any problems with drinking Guinness. I think it's a really good like gateway beer, and if there's nothing else on tap, I'm not opposed to getting a Guinness. Whereas if there was only like the choice between like Coors Light or Bud Light, I probably wouldn't choose either. Be like, I'll take water. It's effectively the same thing.
Well, if I really wanted beer, I'd get a Coors Light,
I guess. But I would say like the Guinness draft is pretty good. Now, when Guinness tries to experiment with their weird stuff, the stuff that they just don't do very well,
it's out of their wheelhouse.
That's out of their wheelhouse. It gets weird.
It's like when Ommegang, our lovely local Belgian brewer, and they released a Nirvana IPA. It's an IPA, but it's like this. Stick to the Belgian beers.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like something that you generally would do, and it definitely tastes like it's outside of your natural scope. And I think that's the case with Guinness when they try things like the black lager.
Oh, that's probably, to be honest with you, their black lager, which was their first one, at least around here.
The first try.
Mainstream to kind of like do something different. And I'm not counting Harp or, Smithwick's and...
Yeah.
Because, those are mainstays in the Guinness, lineup. But when they tried the black lager, that was one of the first beers. Actually, that came out when I was like 21. Because I remember I got home from college and it just came out and I'm like, I really want to try it. I tried it and I remember being so underwhelmed. Like, this is weird.
Right.
And I didn't really care for it. I'm like, well, that was a waste of like $12. And I never got it again. And to be honest with you, once you've had Saranac's, Black Forest, there's not really a Schwartz beer that you should either really go out of your way to try. That's...
Yeah.
And New Belgium's, what is it, 1554? You had that recently.
I did. I think it's pretty good, actually. But
no, I know, because we reviewed it on the podcast. So I bought that pack where it's like, you're technically supposed to mix and match. I was like, well, didn't know that. I just drank them, but...
Yeah.
That was pretty good, but like, I would say the
Saranac one is
the Black Forest is one of the best Schwartz beers.
That's the level.
Yeah.
Well, I think...
but not only that, we have done, too, the Irish Wheat, which is their Hefeweizen, the abomination, the Rye Pale Ale, that was weird.
Yeah. Right, yeah.
The Nitro IPA, again...
Not bad, but not...
I didn't care for it at all.
Not like a write home to mom about.
Yeah, well, I didn't... I know for a fact that I didn't like that one. But yeah, it's like... they're just weird, but like... and I think when they stick to the like stouts and porters, they do really good. Like their foreign extra stout is one of the best stouts I've ever had in my life.
Right.
It's literally, and that's in this pack, but we're not having that because I'm saving that for myself to, like, for me time.
Yeah.
Maybe get a pipe and sit by the fire and enjoy.
Yeah, I think their foreign extra stout is one of their best. Their extra stout
I used to really like.
Is quite good, but
it's good, but it has, especially after the foreign extra stout. Because I remember the first time I had extra stout, because that's like more like a regular stout. And how it is. I remember the first time I had it, be like, this is great, this is amazing. But now it's like, it's good, but it's, very comparable to other stouts. But I still say the foreign extra stout's just really good. A marvel to behold. It's worth every penny. Like, if it's $20 for a 4-pack, you're getting your money's worth. It's that good.
And then I would say, like, whenever they do some of their variations on their stouts, like the West Indies stout, they do a good job with it. I wouldn't say that they, it's nothing that you should skip. It's a good style, and it's not like their other gimmicky beers. So when we're talking about the 200th anniversary stout, I think that it's not a gimmicky beer. It's definitely something that is a variation on their normal stout that they add a couple, like some more roasted malts to it. And now we're getting into a gray area where it's hard to describe and discern the differences between minute stout changes. So we're going to do the best that we can, because we had 3 different ones today. The 200th anniversary stout has a heavier malt presence than the regular Guinness, the one that you get on draft in America.
And none of these have nitro in it too, so
exactly. So they're not as like what you think of as the creaminess of a regular Guinness draft. The 200th anniversary stout is definitely roasty, malty, has a slightly sweet presence on the tongue, which then fades somewhat to the back. And I think that's probably the best encapsulation of what that beer does. I think it's a good beer. It's definitely not as good as the foreign extra stout. And I don't think that it's as good as some of the other beers in this pack that we're going to talk about.
I think before we get to the best one, because I think we're pretty much agreed on how we kind of rank these.
Yeah.
Because I would say that, the 200th anniversary is the middle road one. I do think it's a pretty decent stout. It's definitely not any, like as you said, to write home about, but I think it's really good, though. I mean, it's a very acceptable stout. I can't really describe it any better taste profile-wise than you did, because you basically hit the hammer on the nail for that on me. I would say the bottom ones, they're Antwerp stout.
Yep, the Antwerpen stout.
Which is a higher alcohol stout.
Yeah, it's 8%. 8%, which is surprising because most of Guinness's brews are between like 4.2 and 6.
And the 200th anniversary is a 6%.
Yep, that's a 6 one.
The Antwerp is basically like the beer that we both think is the best out of the pack, but amped up. And it makes sense because it's double the alcohol. So everything, and the taste-wise, is doubled. It's got a very malty body to it.
Very heavy malt right at the beginning of it. You get slammed
very
with roasted malt.
very bready. And something to note too is none of these stouts have like notes of really coffee, or anything like that.
Chocolate maybe, a little bit of chocolate,
but not really anything like oaty. Nothing like an oatmeal stout or like a breakfast stout. It's very bread. It is bready, like its maltiness. And the Antwerp one is really bready, but at the same time, because it's got that extra oomph, that slight sweetness that you get with the 200th anniversary is amped up in that. So the back end on the palate, at least for me, when I drink that Antwerp stout, it's pretty damn sweet actually. As you get a very bitter, bready taste to begin with, heavy body, and then at the back end you get like, it's a really sweet taste, and it lingers.
The biggest problem with the Antwerpen is that as you get through the bottle, even at just 11.2 ounces,
not 12.
Yeah, right. The sweetness becomes almost overwhelming. And I'll use my favorite term here.
Cloying.
It becomes cloying. That's right. It does. It becomes...
Can we every time we use cloying have like a drop of from like Pee-wee's Playhouse, like, ah! Ah!
I know. I do use that. I do use it quite a bit to describe
You actually
things,
haven't used
but
it in quite a few.
That's true. We haven't had anything cloying on the show, so no. But the Antwerpen Stout, I believe, is just a little bit too sweet because of all of that, like, upfront roasted malt, and then the back end is very sweet. So you're right, it lingers, and as it lingers, and as you get through the beer, it becomes like an overwhelming sweetness that doesn't dissipate.
And it doesn't really pair well with, like, the front.
Yeah.
Not, like I said, it's not a bad stout.
No,
I do enjoy it, but it just... It's really odd. It's like I think the best comparison, again, it's not the same style of beer, but the rye pale ale, I remember out of all of them, because I remember we didn't mention it, the American Blonde, I hated. I didn't like the Irish Wheat, I didn't like the Nitro, but in the Black Lager, which we didn't do on here because it's 10 years old now, but when we did the rye, I just remember being like, is so like confused on how I should feel about it. Cause like I love rye beers, but it's like it's had like the rye bitter pepperiness, but then like a weird sweet aftertaste. And it's like this doesn't go together. This is weird. It's
I think
it's off-putting.
That's the problem with the Antwerpen is that as you get through it, that sweetness at the back end really becomes to get overwhelming.
And I don't even think it's supposed to be like a dessert stout, like something like oh, after you're done eating a nice steak and potatoes and pan fried green beans, you're gonna sit down with some cheesecake and an Antwerpen stout.
Well, we saved the best for last. The spectacular Guinness Original. Which you originally thought was just plain old Guinness. I did when I read it. Yeah, I was just like, oh, regular Guinness, as they would generally put in a pack. But no, this is the Guinness Original. This is what would be considered the beer that they drink that's served in Ireland and Europe.
They still sell there.
Yeah,
this is the first time being apparently introduced in America.
It's really because the line between what we get in America and what we get in Europe is kind of vague and convoluted.
Why though?
Yeah,
it's something I don't get. Why? So because this is a good stout. Why has this taken until 2018 to finally be introduced to America?
It's a good question,
especially with like all the other offshoots of beer that they do. It's like you might as well put them out. Like how many people around in America are running out and buying Harp?
Right.
I can goddamn guarantee you not a lot of people.
It's expensive for one thing for a lager.
I know, but and not only that, like if you're paying for an export lager from Europe, you got much better than Harp. You have Heineken, Carlsberg,
right,
Pilsner Urquell.
Even the more confusing things about the Guinness Original is that both Guinness Draft and Guinness Original and Guinness Original Extra Stout are all slightly different, and they all have slightly different alcohol contents in different countries. So I was even reading that the Guinness Original Extra Stout has a different alcohol content, like in Africa, than the one they brew for here.
Well, it's the same thing too. Like the Foreign Extra, they have like different versions.
It gets very confusing
for different like continents. Like in Europe, it's got a different alcohol content. Like Africa, it's got different alcohol content.
Which one's the best one?
Which I don't know if that has to do something with like maybe like alcohol laws. Because I know like if in like Texas, if something's over a certain percent in ABV, it's not like a lager. It's an ale. Like it has like a different classification,
which doesn't make sense. Which even not the classification.
Yeah, well, they're not going by like technical brewing laws. That's like something they just have set up. Like if it's at like this, it's an ale. If it's at this, it's like regular. Like I said, I don't make laws.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, the Guinness Original that we have is the 4.2%. That's one that they brew in Europe.
By the way, I love the simplicity of the label on it. Just a plain black and white label.
Looks like somebody brewed it in their basement. Popped the label on.
I know this is classier because it's also got it's also got the
signature,
the Sir Arthur Guinness. Well,
Yeah. Well, I gotta say that if Guinness was served like this as Guinness Original in America, I would be way more want to get it.
Yeah, this is a very. I mean, it's got a nice malt body, malt forward. As all Guinness.
It is malt forward, sure. Yep.
But it does have a slight sweetness, and I do mean slight. That back end is very like like kind of like a kiss, of, like a little
a-
peck on your palate.
It's
of
a kiss of
sweetness
sweetness that dissolves into dryness.
Yes,
and I like
it's very
that.
quick, like kind of like a wine. I would kind of describe like that level of dryness to the sweetness. So it's just like, watch. I'm going to take a sip right now.
Yeah, it's
like this would be. It's perfect.
I think
it's a perfect, like if you're at a bar and you don't want to drink like a normal beer and you want like something kind of heavier, this is a perfect beer to drink, like a stout to drink at a bar if that's what you want, a stout, because it's only 4.2 ABV, so it's very light, it's very sessionable.
Apparently, too, Guinness is one of the better light beers. Technically, it is a light beer on the market, which is surprising because you would think as a stout, very heavy cream-like presence, that it would be, caloric in its content, but it's not. It's a light beer. So
this is. I actually kind of am sad that I gave it a 3.75 on Untappd. Which I know I would probably now bump it up to a 4 after having another one.
I like it quite a bit. I like the dryness of it. I think it's the best balanced beer out of the pack that we've had so far. I would have to really compare it to the Foreign Extra because it's been a while since I've had a Foreign Extra. So comparing the original and the Foreign Extra, I don't know what would happen.
Well, maybe if you give the old rubby and squeezy, you'll
I'll get one of those out of it.
You can get one of those.
But surprisingly, I think this pack is really good because Guinness is sticking to their wheelhouse. They're not trying anything really crazy over the top. They're really sticking to the stout formula. And you'll notice that all of these beers have the same malt body. The roasted malts, they all taste very similar. They just have those very minute changes to the stout that make it, the variation on a theme. And I think that's interesting because we talked about this a little bit before we started the podcast. We're not going to fault Guinness for having the same taste within all of their beers because that's the same idea as an IPA. An IPA, no matter who makes it, has the same, thematic idea behind it. It's very hoppy. Hoppy presence, limited malts, somewhat carbonated, and citrusy. And that's the idea behind a IPA. And the same thing is true of Guinness's stouts. And I like that they don't change the formula up so much that, a stout becomes indistinguishable or that a stout becomes so crazily different that you don't even notice that it's a stout anymore.
Well, when you got it right, you got it right.
That's right.
Kind of tweak it.
Yeah, exactly.
But,
so
no, I would recommend actually picking this up while it's still out. I really do hope the original becomes a staple.
Yeah, that it's around more often. Pick it up like the extra and the foreign are now available. They're available. You can get a 4-pack of the foreign extra.
It's still kind of hard to find.
It is hard to find, but
the extra stout you can find, but the foreign extra is kind of at least around here. I don't know how it is elsewhere, but at least around here, and granted, we live in the middle of buttfuck nowhere in the boonies, so
it would be great to be able to find the Guinness original like the extra stout.
I would love to see it
or something like that.
Oh, because it's so light, it had to be at least a 6-pack.
True.
6 or 12. But no, because I would get this. If I'm in the mood for a stout, I would get this. It's like I said, this is a terrific beer. And like I said, if you are out at the bar and it's Christmas time and you want something heavier and heartier, and this was on tap, this would be a delightful beer to have.
Yeah, I agree.
Absolutely delightful. And I'll use that word enough. Delightful.
That's true. All right, let's move on to Leprechaun 3. We spent enough time on beers. All right, so Leprechaun 3.
To be exact.
Obviously, it does have Warwick Davis in it, and Warwick Davis comes back, which, I mean, if you can say one thing about the Leprechaun series, it's that at least they were consistent in getting Warwick Davis.
Well, I mean, that's the whole crux. If you don't have Warwick Davis, you don't have Leprechaun series.
Yeah, I would say, I guess if you didn't have Warwick Davis, there's no point in making a Leprechaun movie. And so that begs the question, why did they do Leprechaun Origin?
It would be like doing Nightmare on Elm Street without Robert Englund. Oh, wait. They did that.
They did. They did a remake of it, but...
I wish we did. For Remake a Week. Check it out. It's called a plug.
But I do at least appreciate that Warwick Davis did come back because when you get into these sequels, it's pretty common to have the main villain not be the same person.
Same.
Well, in Leprechaun's case, you definitely need the same person to play mask. He's got sort of a, basically all he's got for his costume is like green paint, really. And you're kind of already limited right there to at the time, if, what's his name from really working on films at that point.
I think he's even shorter than Warwick Davis.
Yeah. So, I would say that throughout the Leprechaun series, at least Warwick Davis,
it's a job.
Yeah, exactly. but I would argue that he is at least like along for the ride and just saying lines.
Well, he's the lead though. He's the fans of the franchise. It would have to be because of Warwick Davis. Then I'm a fan of his work in this series and just how goofy and
because of Warwick Davis. There's really no other reason to. Ridiculous Leprechaun can get, because post Leprechaun 1,
Leprechaun 1's pretty fucking crazy. That's granted, I guess the one would be crazy slasher film, but really, the first one compared, it's kind of the same thing with Leprechaun. It's goofy and over the top and stupid and campy, but then the sequel, the rails, no, you don't even know.
I guess that would be a good comparison. A serious approach to, there's this kid who owns and then, from there, they get more corny, they get more cheesy. They add a lot more jokes to it. They give Brad Dourif a lot more to work with. As a character, has always been somewhat cheesy and
when he's speaking
jokey.
Tammin, rhyming every sentence,
There's little that you can do to not make that. Wow, we finally got around to
full circle.
Yeah.
Well, not just the music too, but the fact that they both speak.
Warwick Davis is a good premise. He requested a salary increase based on everything he has to do in this film. The actual screenplay that was written by David Dubois on that one. That screenplay has been goofier than the original Leprechaun or Leprechaun 2. I would say more than the original film. They're just not that funny. And is that everything is set in Vegas. So Leprechaun 3 kind of having a magician,
a pawn shop.
I can name Tales from the Crypt, Friday the 13th, the series. I don't know why, but it was a very common.
I'm sure
occurrence.
There's a Are You Afraid of the Dark episode.
Exactly. So,
and I think they could have went longer with that. And I think the Elvis impersonator was a very the Leprechaun get dressed up like Elvis and imitate him after killing Elvis. No, he just runs into an Elvis and that's it.
Yeah,
and it's that went nowhere. That bit was pointless.
We saw that in the script, and he was like, triple the salary. Right there. I have to hurry for this one. This is Leprechaun 3. We're going to triple it. Themes of what you would think of when you think of Vegas. Casinos, magicians.
Rick to come out and be when in the beginning, the guy, I want $1,000. He's like, I'm not really sure, and then have imagine that this was made today, Leprechaun in 2018 in Vegas. Draw. He's like, I don't know what to make of this. I know a guy who knows a guy. I'll bring that guy in here, and he can tell me a little bit more about the. Yeah, it's just a statue, thing. And then walk off and fucking hate that show.
I think that Leprechaun 3, the word from the soundtrack, which often sounds like a 90s. Yeah.
There's the one bit that sounded like it was like
a sort of like a ace.
Sound like I can't remember where it was being played, but there was a song that reminded me.
I think it was actually in the striptease moment when the mainers, Tammy, perfect name for is doing a striptease for her boss, the casino boss. But I think Leprechaun 3 is a perfect encapsulation of everything that you would get from a 90s cheesy sort of synth score music. You get boobs in this film. are pretty much a driving force.
I really do wish countdown to Tammy's cleavage.
There's
so many shots of, you know, I would almost say like stereotypical like Japanese like bunny girl outfit singlet, you know, like with perky and then like they wear like the little bunny ears. You know what I'm talking about? Like, from,
I know what you're talking
about. Like the late '80s and early wearing sometimes this Miami Vice like white linen jacket over a little bit, and so she's bending over and you get right there. There's the cleavage. That's what we need.
It's a big cleavage, and that's part of the compelling nature of Tammy's predicament. But it's also part of acted on by a wish by her boss, who compels her to part of it. So yes, like cleavage in general in this film is really like, and it's mostly a tease too, because Leprechaun for
they got somebody
Lee
else.
Armstrong, you never get that, but consider probably perhaps an actual stripper on Vegas Strip. Yeah.
Which is great. She looked like it's 1995 when this movie came out, but you know it's like probably shot in 94. She looks like she came out of like 87, 88 with that like just like this outfit she's wearing. Like it totally looks like she came out of like an 80s like poor.
That's true.
Hilarious.
That's true. Now, Leprechaun 3 was Smith is, even though I'm sure he's a great guy, he's pretty much known and films that really aren't well known for their group. One of them that really sticks out to me is Turkey Shoot, film, and what I would call Ozploitation film, because it was an Australian picture. Quite a few of these types of films, like Leprechaun 3, where the franchise itself and kind of banking on.
This is a direct video.
It was, yeah.
And not only that, it was the highest growth.
Obviously, direct-to-video films were getting pretty big and
still prevalent today. I actually saw one yesterday at Target that made me upset. It was Lion King. Really? So we want you're doing, and like they have them all like happy and go lucky and whatnot. And it's like, yes, let's have a children's cartoon film be about a regicide.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's right. Well, just forget about what happened in a tragic
hero.
Tragic anti-hero. Set in Vegas, has a very scattered.
When you compared it to a sitcom, it's pretty spot on, because the way it's shot in like shop, and constantly throughout the film, it's constantly transitioning back to the pawn shop. Like it's like Roseanne, like the painted backdrop, you know,
right? Like
the matte painting type thing, where it's like, and then you actually go into the interior because they couldn't afford the actual exterior shot of a pawn shop.
Yeah, it is. It is very much sitcom-esque because of the way that it does transition between each of the film. You'll have our main character, Scott, and then you'll have the pawn shop owner, who's being, kind of a random magician guy who's really not important to the plot line at all, who we see like breaks itself down into these three avenues.
And the settings are either the pawn in general, and then like the Lucky Shamrock Casino. That's it. It's just literally bouncing from the...
Interesting, too, that they decided to do this because, like, if we're talking about the opening moments where Trick is going on with an audience in Vegas, and Scott is like...
What's he even there for?
And eventually getting to the Lucky Shamrock, like, the whole idea takes attention out of, for one thing, Leprechaun attacking the pawn shop owner, because it's broken up so often.
Stone.
Yeah,
because he's a stone statue, and the guy brings him into the pawn shop, and he just says, "First, I thought it was the one protagonist's like uncle or whatever the fuck he was from the second one, but I forgot ending, which I don't even remember how he gets defeated and what happens to him at the end of 2. I know in the first one they got blown up or some shit. So then, how did he like get reincarnated and turned into stone? What's it do? What's it called? It's just, I don't know, random MacGuffin that's just kind of there. Don't worry about it. So it's backstory. It's just happening for the sake of happening.
Yeah.
Then we go to Scott, and he's just driving in Vegas on the shoulder of the road with her Beetle broken down, swerves like an asshole off the road, and then they, go, but you didn't, huh?
There's a chance meeting there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty much every 90s meeting scene.
Cars and He's like, oh yeah, let me check your car, and it's stupid.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure most people know Beetle has rear engine. Her engine possibly, even though she wouldn't know. And he's like explaining like pistons and rods care about that stuff, and she's like, yeah, I don't. Yeah.
Well, what's fun about Scott as a character in the 90s film?
He's retarded, an idiot. I laugh and not know what because he's such like a. Because he's not like a surfer stoner. I don't know the suspenders. That may be when he gets turned into Leprechaun or later. He's like, I'm not the hair, the parted.
He's got the hair,
that '90s parted hair bangs, which we don't know what the
of hair, and the guy with this mannerism is the friend to the main character.
Well, there's a better '90s film that kind of gets into that. You might have heard of it.
Into the guy that she wants. And it's because of, like, little boy to man who's conquered a leprechaun. Because that always very generic, especially for a 90s film. It's you get Tales from the Crypt episode that's, like, been run out for way too long. But just run out a bit too long.
Yeah, but this isn't executed well at all.
Yeah, probably a bit more fun than Leprechaun 2, just because it really does. It's obvious that Leprechaun 3 doesn't.
Because, like, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Yeah, we're in Vegas now. Like, we've run out of ideas. What do we do?
He literally, like, he's his own bad news, really.
I didn't say that in the first two films, because the whole crux of the first two films, too, is someone's still got a piece of.
Kind of backfires on the user because. Eventually, Warwick Davis is going to come to collect on that wish, and it's going to be an ironic way that it give a creative spin on the wishes. So you Massacre 2 and Leatherface, who shows up here and they kind of give
mom from Matilda with that hair and that leopard, that leopard print shirt. Yes, like
what I mean? Like Roz from New Year's Evil, because which we covered it back New York City slangy style to it, and
as if she's been through the 80s.
Yeah, I mean, at that point she really does seem like that as Loretta again,
and it's totally the 90s with that Caesar haircut. Like all I could think was like Gladiator. Caesar giving like thumbs up, and then being like. Thumbs down.
I mean,
that curtain she was wearing.
I think that the idea, the creativity behind it is...
How does the leprechaun have magic to make her boobies and butt be big and swell up and then blow up?
But I think that it's at least creative. It's at least in the same...
Yeah.
Very, very similar to that idea. And I do like that Leprechaun 3 at least expands its storyline a little bit to incorporate some creativity to it. So, because it's set in Vegas, it does give, what I would consider like Irish lore and do the whole Vegas shtick. All these...
I say that's the one that I thought was clever and funny, and I thought it was funny when he by his intestine, he was kind of like, he didn't say it, would have been great though if he's like, ta-da!
Right,
but he kind of plug-in chainsaw too.
Yeah,
totally
exactly.
Fucking...
an electric chainsaw.
You couldn't find an outlet out there. Tried,
I think those are the best moments though. The best moments where you have Leprechaun like really capitalizing on the creativity of this time of the film really getting into the creativity of what Leprechaun can do, of the magic that he has at his disposal. You have that, and so I think that's probably the most prominent part of Leprechaun 3. Whereas Leprechaun 2 was very generic. It really did the same things as Leprechaun 1. It didn't really...
Just made it goofier.
Yeah, it just made it like a little bit more comical. And I would say even that comicalness didn't really add to the impact of the entertainment value of the film. It was very much a dry film. I don't know how much... It's really surprising that Leprechaun did have so many sequels, because as a whole, I don't think that Leprechaun as a character is really that interesting. The idea behind him is very much generically set up that he wants his gold and he's gonna go out of his way to find it if he ever loses it. So that idea is really not very stimulating. So it is interesting Leprechaun 3 at least finds a way to make it somewhat exciting.
Well, I will say, though, you're heaping praise on it for being creative, for doing the 90s cliche of being set in Vegas. As I said earlier, it's very underutilized. You could have done so much more that had to deal with, like, Vegas. And they don't go that route. Like, just imagine him, like, killing somebody and then, like, dancing with showgirls on stage or something. Or having, like, a famous, like, Vegas-type celebrity. Like, I mean, they probably couldn't afford the likes of, like, Frank Sinatra. But
like Wayne Newton.
I mean, Vegas Vacation would do that later. But you could, like, do something like that.
Yeah, or, like, they do make the reference to Siegfried and Roy, right? Like, the magician himself is meant to be a Siegfried and Roy stand-in, where he's wearing the sort of cape that you would see Siegfried and Roy wear. So they do realize the reference to it, but they don't
go the full.
Yeah, exactly. There's not like the commitment to that idea.
Like I said, it'd be so much better. Like they have like stereotypical like mobster, like for like the casino owner, but like you go like the whole route. Have like actual mobsters in there. Have like the leprechaun like impersonate that. Go like the whole like him like imitating like Frank Sinatra or something like that, or Dean Martin. Go the full route. If you're gonna do the whole Vegas cliche, go the whole way and be so exploitative about it that no one else is gonna be able to top it. Because like I said, like the whole Elvis impersonator thing, it's totally a missed opportunity. It's just Elvis impersonator shows up in a limo. He goes, "How's it going?" And then the Leprechaun does like another impersonation of Elvis, like, "That's pretty good. Don't do that for free. Thank you very much."
Yeah.
And they do like, a little hip dance and they go. It's stupid. And like a little quip about, "Oh, my shoes. Are they blue suede?" Come on.
Yeah.
Like it's like totally, that whole, by the time that scene's over with where he was dealing with the Elvis impersonator, it was a waste of 2.5 minutes.
That's true. It's true. And a lot of this film feels like a waste. There's a lot of elements to it that doesn't really add up to a plot per se. I would say like the whole magician element really doesn't need to be here. It's an additional storyline that really doesn't have any bearing on the rest of the plot. It's
there for a gay joke. That's it.
That's true. Yeah. And the one thing that the only thing that it does is add some filler in between when Scott becomes, he first gets bitten by Leprechaun and then he becomes a Leprechaun himself. There's just filler there to fill the void between, like we can't have him become a Leprechaun right at the like second act of the film, so we have to kind of extend this out a little bit and also increase the kill count. I think that's part of it, is that we have to have more characters than really are necessary just so that we can increase the kill count and make sure that we get a lot of creative kills on screen at one time. I think that, like, how do you feel about the whole Leprechaun zombie bite scenario?
Stupid.
It's introduced here for the first time. We've never
not
seen
even
it
explained. It's not even explained. The Leprechaun. I mean, you had to kind of explain, because I didn't really pay attention to see, but because he constantly throughout the first two films is biting people's toes and ears and shit, to maim them, and nothing happens to him. But here he bites Scott on the arm, and then also apparently because when Scott stabs him in the eye and the leprechaun's blood gets him in him, it's like zombie magic. He turns into a leprechaun himself slowly but surely.
Yeah, it's an introduction to that idea.
That's like underdeveloped and underutilized. It's just kind of like, kind of cramming it in at the end, and
we've never seen it before for sure. It's definitely here just because that works for the film itself, and that's it. It's like a new dynamic to the leprechaun idea rather than going off of the same themes of like leprechaun loses gold, a person finds the gold, and leprechaun comes to get it back. At least here there is that change up a little bit, that you have a character who actually turns into a leprechaun, kind of predicated on the fact that our main character sees a very outdated 90s computer software. It's basically like a version of the Encyclopedia Britannica that you would have on CD
with audio quality
Yeah.
that is ridiculous for 1994.
that shows that you know, it gives you a whole Irish folklore mythology.
Not only that, I
about
love
it.
too that the pawn shop broker just happens to have in his pawn shop, floppy disk thing, fucking to plug right on in. It's
Of an
just,
Irish folklore.
well,
CD.
it's just general folklore. It's not myths and folklore is what it's called, and you can just type in, the subject and matter, and it loads instantly, and you get clear audio of, it's great. It's absolutely great. It's stupid, but
It works for the time period, I guess.
unbelievable. I felt only our computers then were that good.
I know.
Let's talk about the acting.
Yeah, the acting is a problematic experience.
So what did you think?
Well, I would say that probably
Not judging Warwick Davis.
yeah, as I said before,
Because-
Warwick Davis is probably the highlight
Because
for sure.
I can tell you right now, if you've seen any of the Leprechaun films, Warwick Davis is just pretty consistent.
Yeah.
He's Warwick Davis as the Leprechaun. Not really much more you can really add to it.
Yeah, I would
So
say
if you listen to our first two reviews, then
it's pretty much the same.
it's the same goddamn thing.
Yeah.
Which, to his credit, that's all is needed of the character.
Yeah, I would say, for the rest of the cast, John Gaddens, unfortunately, this is probably, I think this is one of his only acting credits. He's mostly more of a screenwriter, and good for him. He went on to do a lot better things after Leprechaun 3. He wrote a couple of different films like Kong Skull Island, co-wrote that. He wrote the Emmy-nominated Flight,
Academy Award.
Academy Award winning nominated Flight, and a few other films within Hollywood that actually became pretty big budget films.
Norbit.
Yep. Some of the Eddie Murphy films.
But he's done well with writing.
Yeah, exactly. Unfortunately, his early days, he was relegated to roles like this in Leprechaun 3, where he didn't really get a chance to shine, and really clearly his acting is not his strong suit.
Fucking terrible.
Yeah, he's not good.
And he's not even so bad it's funny. He's just bad.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that, I don't know why there was the, maybe it was just a breakout thing where he was like, I'll do some acting
I think
for
it's
a while.
a second or third role that he had.
Yeah, it's just not his strong suit, and in acting here, it's not a good example of what he
Literally
can do.
not just ugh, it's like you're pulling at your collar ugh.
I believe that he learned a lot on Leprechaun 3 about how not to write a script and stuff like that. And so, he went on to write bigger and better things. But yeah, for acting here, he's not the strong part of
He's
of
not
Leprechaun 3.
likable at all.
Yeah.
He's not likable. He's such a he's just such a goddamn geek. And not in he's such what a lovable geek. He's literally it's pathetic. And just idiotic. He loses all his money at the casino playing roulette. By the way, because he's 18 in this. Because he's not supposed to be in there gambling. Well, actually, no, he's got to be younger than 18 because you can gamble at 18.
Mm-hmm.
So he's got to be younger than 18, which he doesn't look like he's younger than 18. He doesn't even look like he's younger than 21. So, funny film. But no, so he gambles all $23,000, which he has a check for, which I don't remember catching for why he has a check for $23,000. Is it was supposed to be inheritance from a grandparent or something?
Well, funny fact, it was signed by the director, Brian Trenchard Smith. That I can tell you.
Breaking the fourth wall.
Yeah.
But no, so I don't know he had the check, but then he loses at the roulette table. He's like, oh no, what do I do? I just lost all my money. And the lady's like, come on, you're gonna have good luck. You'll have good luck. You'll have good luck. Why don't you buy that watch? Why don't you have that nice watch? She's like, oh, okay. I'll go pawn my grandfather's watch. Come on. You're 17 or whatever the fuck, you're smart enough by that point to know, probably after you lose, you have $23,000, you lose $5,000, maybe I should stop.
Yeah. Probably, yeah, because at that time, $23,000, that's the most you've ever seen in your life. That's it. That's high stakes gambling right there.
And not only that, especially like it's like no secret now that like gambling at the casino, like it's
a losing game.
You're a fool. The house does always win.
Yeah.
Rarely are you going to come out. That's why they make money. That's why I like the fact that he's sitting there playing roulette. It's like, you're an idiot. Out of all the games you could pick to play, That's why I love in Vegas Vacation when, like, they go to, like, the $1 tables and shit or whatever with Randy Quaid and Chevy Chase. Like, you can play war at a casino. That's what I would do. You have better odds at winning at war than you do like that fucking roulette. It's just a waste.
Yeah, absolutely.
At least, like, it's the same thing, too. Like pick blackjack. At least blackjack has a little, strategy involved. I mean, it's still very luck-based, but I mean, like, roulette's literally just luck. Just get lucky.
Yeah.
Put money on, like, a color or a number and pray to God.
Hope that it comes up.
Yeah.
Now, Lee Armstrong is really in this film for one sole reason, and that is her boobies. Other than that, there's really, I mean, I don't think she's a bad actress in this film. I don't think that there's any,
Very similar to the heroine from Leprechaun 2.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's just, a matter of, like, she's a very interchangeable heroine.
Now I know what her acting performance, what it reminds me of? It reminds me of Winona Ryder in Mr. Deeds.
Okay.
When she's playing, like, the, trying to woo Adam Sandler, like the, oh, yeah, wow, golly gee, I'm from,
Yeah.
Kings and,
to me,
Bullshitville or whatever. That's what she sounds like when she's like talking. She's like, I don't know, Scott. Should we do this? This seems weird. And so she said, it literally took me just until now to like pinpoint that. That's what like the acting like kind of reminds me of in this is like her doing like Winona Ryder and Mr. Deeds, but not nearly as good.
To me, Lee Armstrong really reminds me of a cross between Melissa Joan Hart.
Especially in the beginning when you see her,
see
her magician assisted outfit when she's just standing on the side of the road hitchhiking. She really does like what happened to Clarissa? She got kicked out of the house and she's just
Yep, the cross between her and Heather Graham, because Heather she has that same sort of dopiness as Heather Graham. Mm-hmm. So, and that's intentional. I mean, that's what they're going for in the movie. So
maybe a little Jenny McCarthy.
Yeah. Yep. And so, I think that
which would be perfect for 95.
That's true. She gets across what you're looking for in that character. Whether that's actually like what you want out of that, I don't know. But I think she does an okay job. I mean, it's what's expected of her for that character.
She's literally there because the moral of the story is boobs save the day.
Pretty much, and that you'll get boobs if you save people. Basically, if you save the girl, you get the boobs. That's what it's there for. So you wanted to count how many times the cleavage shots occurred
because they were so numerous. You couldn't stop. Like literally, they constantly had her like bending over in spots, for no reason, just so it's like, come on, Tammy, come on, Lee, you gotta show a little cleavage here. Come on, this movie ain't gonna be making money. I guarantee this whole movie was the top grossing direct-to-video movie of the year because you got a scene of the stripper hopping out of the TV with just boobies hanging out, for reals, just because of that.
That's it. Yeah,
probably made a lot of 11-year-old boys very confused at first and. Learn something new about themselves.
Other than that, there's not really anybody else in the film that's of substance besides John DeMita, who plays that magician character, Fazio, and
Fidelio,
and I mean, really, he's just there to ham it up. So
he's Michael McDonald, but not Michael McDonald.
Yeah, I would say that the acting's. Is fine, but again, it really is reminiscent of what you would see from like a 90s sitcom on TV, where you have a lot of guest characters that show up real quick. You have like that 20 seconds of the audience recognizing the actor and being like, "Oh," and then clapping.
This movie does need a laugh track.
Yeah, that's basically
this thing should have had like a laugh track right at the beginning. Like this movie was filmed in front of a studio audience live.
Yeah, that's essentially what Leprechaun 3 is.
Would have been great if like the opening literally was like, diggity, like after like he kills somebody, like everywhere you look.
Yeah.
Like do something like 90s like that. Be great.
And
beat too many cooks to the punch.
And other than that, I really don't have much to add about Leprechaun 3. I mean, it's very by the books generic. It does have a couple of creative kills, especially like, incorporating some of the Vegas acts within it. But other than that, it's very...
I would think, too, they kind of copped a lot of the effects looks from, like, Troll 2.
Sure, yeah. I mean, the whole Leprechaun look is straight out of, like, both Troll 2 with the green blood, and then also, like Teen Wolf.
Like, it's just weird, like, it's almost... Because I don't remember the first two films, like, them focusing on, like, he's got green shit and green blood, and it's like... They do here, like, he's got green shit and green blood and stuff, and it's like, look, why don't you send him off to Nilbog then? Just have him go right on down the Nilbog.
That'd be a pretty fun
crossover.
Is just
Leprechaun and Nilbog.
Yeah, because
Troll too.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. They could definitely do it. Probably the best film out of the franchise.
Well, I can tell you what the next Leprechaun film is going to be.
What's that?
It's going to be Leprechaun, what is it? The 7 now? It'd be up to 7?
Yeah.
Because 4 is in space and 5... No, it'd be 8.
I mean, it would technically be 8
because Origins is set. So, Leprechaun 8 would be Carl Pilkington in Ireland. Ricky Gervais and Sky TV are like, all right, listen, Carl, we haven't done this show in a while. So what we're going to do is we're going to send you to fall exotic place. Carl's like, oh no, what's going on
Leprechaun.
over here? We're going to send you over to Ireland. Meet your friend Warwick Davis. It's going to be great. It's going to be a lot of great. Like Ricky Gervais laughs, and then he's like, oh no, what am I going to Ireland for? And then he goes there, and it's just Warwick Davis running around as Leprechaun. And he's like, oh, this is just terrible. I don't, Yeah. That's an idiot abroad reference.
An idiot abroad. That's right.
Yeah, there you go. Call it idiot abroad. Leprechaun 8. I would watch that.
I would watch it too.
Because Carl Pilkington is magic. Absolute magic. Idiot abroad is hilarious. And the Ricky Gervais podcast was absolutely Oh yeah, Stephen Merchant. There we go.
Yeah.
That's
him.
Voice of Wheatley in and Portal 2.
Oh, yeah. So, do you want to give Leprechaun 3 a rating?
No.
Well, I'm thinking out of 10 electric chainsaws.
I would give it non-applicable.
Really? And ended at that, huh?
No, I'll give it I'll give it a 4 out of 10. This is a hard film to watch. I think it gets better as it goes on. As things start moving, but it takes a fucking ice age to get moving. It's literally the first 30 minutes are just spent bouncing from the pawn shop and the casino floor and what's going on there. It's only like an hour and 25-minute film. So like over a third of the film is like dedicated to like bouncing back from we spend way too much time at the beginning at the pawn shop and getting the whole premise and idea set up. Overall, the premise is stupid. They don't utilize Vegas to its fullest potential at all. And I don't know if that's like a script thing or they just don't look, we can't really do Vegas any justice because we don't have the budget for it. I don't know, but it's literally like one of the weakest throwing into being in Vegas I've seen in a film. Warwick Davis is alright. I personally, as we reviewed before, I really don't like the Leprechaun film, so his acting, though proficient, I wouldn't say is anything I would write home about, because I don't like Leprechaun as a character. I think the idea is stupid, and I don't find it to be entertaining and amusing. So the fact that it's, like a comical thing, like at least Chucky I find kind of comical, and I find his one-liners to be, a little bit funnier and have a little bit more zing and pep to it than Warwick Davis's, and it's not his fault because it's the writing's fault. Like I think his one-liners and rhyming's kind of, off kilter. Like half the time his shit doesn't even rhyme, or at least rhyme well. And the casting's terrible. The music, especially the guy who plays Scott. What's his name again?
Is John Gaddens.
Yeah, John Gaddens. Thank God. I'm glad he found better work as a screenwriter, and director,
for sure.
because he absolutely terrible. Lee Armstrong, I thought she was fine, but that's just mainly because I was distracted by her boobs and cleavage. That might upset some people, but hey, I mean, we can't do anything about that.
Yeah, I would agree. I'd probably give it I'll be a little generous and give it a 5 out of 10. Only because I do find it a little bit entertaining, especially in the creativity department. I think they did get a little creative with, sort of like the Wishmaster elements to it that, people make wishes and then they have the consequences of those wishes that kind of match up with what they wished for. So that works, I think. It has, I wouldn't say it's good special effects, but they are at least
competent.
Yeah, creative and competent.
Especially for the budget.
I don't think that a lot of the the jokes land. Warwick Davis's jokes, like you said, they tend to not land more than they do because of the way that they're written and that they don't often rhyme, or if they do rhyme, they don't really tend to make sense. Like it's like a random rhyme that doesn't really have anything to do with like the end part of the limerick. So I would say that like the comedy is often forced, and the acting really leaves a lot to be desired. But there is some
entertaining. And it's not, like I said, the acting too is not even really in like, oh, it's so bad, it's awesome. It's literally just bad,
right? And I would say, in the scheme of things, I probably like Leprechaun 3 a bit more than Leprechaun 2.
I don't even remember what I gave Leprechaun 2.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I'm assuming it'd probably be around a 4.
I think I like Leprechaun 3 a bit more than I like Leprechaun 2, but perhaps that's just the creative element of it.
Looking back now, Leprechaun 1's looking like a shining, the shining star on the hill.
But I would say that, Leprechaun 3, I wouldn't really recommend to anybody. I wouldn't say, go out of your way to see it.
Well, what do you do after, you go to Vegas?
Yeah.
What do we do? What do you do once you go to Vegas?
You watch Leprechaun 3.
No, I'm saying, what do you do once you go to Vegas in a film franchise?
You go to space.
You go to space.
You go to space. Yeah, from here we get Leprechaun 4 in space, and then you go to the hood.
Twice. Those will be coming.
Yeah, we'll do those for the next St. Patty's Days, but Leprechaun 3, I would say, is though serviceable as a sequel, is just not really, it is a bad film. It's not even, I wouldn't call it one of those so bad it's good films. It's not enjoyable in that sense. It is obvious that it's really not even trying to be a good film. It's more so just capitalizing on the sequel element of Leprechaun and then kind of trying to emphasize the ridiculous elements of the previous films.
It's like you said, it's amazing that they got as many sequels out of this franchise.
It is. It really is. It is. It's surprising.
Because I'm flummoxed and flabbergasted right now just to kind of thinking about it. Like, wow. Somebody greenlit like 6 sequels.
Yeah.
I would almost say after the third one, okay, we're done.
Yeah. That's it.
Call it a day. Pack it up, boys. We've taken this as far as we can go.
Well, you have to at least hit the 4-leaf clover. So, you gotta have 4 sequels. What's our next film on the agenda?
Well,
we did skip out on the Western that we...
Oh, never mind. I was gonna say Infinity War, but that's late April.
That's late April.
So...
I'm thinking we do the Western that we put off last time.
Go back to the roots.
That's right. Yeah, we do the Western.
It's funny. I was watching the trailer to Day of Anger the other day.
Yeah.
It's great.
I love it.
Because it was just literally like the silhouette pictures like set to like random vibrant colors of Lee Van Cleef and the Italian leading man with the nice, Ennio Morricone like esque soundtrack.
That's why you gotta have Lee Van Cleef in every Western that you do.
It was great. Made me want to rewatch it. Like
we'll do a Western next time. I don't know which one yet, but we'll pick a good Western. I think that's the idea, because we didn't do it the last time, even though we promised that we would, and so.
Well, is it going to be a spaghetti Western? Or?
Yeah, I think so. Probably spaghetti Western.
We'll set 4 hours of your time aside.
Yeah, that's right.
And we'll finally do a fistful of dynamite.
Yeah. All right, so you can...
Not saying that's the next one. Could be, but...
It could be, but it may not be. Haven't announced it yet. So you can find us on iTunes or Stitcher or any other podcasting app.
Are we on Spotify yet?
We are on Spotify as well. Yep. So you can find us on Spotify. We have our main Podbean page at bloodandblackrumpodcast.podbean.com. Make sure you leave a review for any of those sites that you frequent, because it does help us get found. We are on Facebook, facebook.com/bloodandblackrumpodcast. We're also on Twitter at bloodandblackrum. And then we do have a Patreon page. You do get access to our episodes at least one day early, so make sure you check that out and donate at least $1 to us, and that'll get you an episode a day early. So you can get all of the Blood and Black Rum podcast goodness one day early. Other than that, we hope to see you next time for our Western-themed episode. We're not sure which one we're going to do yet, but we definitely will do a spaghetti Western for the next episode. So make sure you stay tuned. We'll see you in 2 weeks, and thank you for listening. Have a happy St. Patty's Day after the fact, because we are way past St. Patty's Day.
Take care.